we received confirmation yesterday that we're going to be funded for 3 years, and it's largely due to people like you supporting us that...
Oh, that's great.
For me, in terms of work, that means that I would now have hopefully once it's all agreed, I will, for the first time in 6 years, have a guaranteed piece of work for more than a year, because the funding has always only been annual and now it will be 3 years. I think that is a big difference in the way that people work now, that presumably for many of you, when you started your career, you would have started a job that you expected to do for life, whereas now that's really very unusual.
I remember listening to one of these experts that talks about the future, and this is a message for the younger generation, that the greatest skill any young person can have in the future is the ability to reinvent themselves, because nobody's going to have the same job like our generation's age.
It'd be interesting to ask these youngsters after education what job.
Drive trains.
I want to be an author of novels.
My book.
There you go. You could write Norma's book.
I haven't quite decided yet, but I think probably I'd either like to be a lawyer or a teacher.
I think I want to manage hotels or organise events.
Well, I left school and I wanted to be a chef, and well, that's not what I am now.
I just want to be a superhero.
Wanda, you and Norma can be superheroes together, I think. You could set up your own superhero business.
Sounds awesome to me.
I wanted to just not do anything except be a nurse when I was at school. But then when I started the nurse training in Britain with the Corps ranks with the army, I eventually, because of my allergies, I couldn't stay there. So I threw a dart into an atlas and it landed in an African country, and I went there and joined their army. And from there, they taught you everything. I learned to fly aeroplanes. I learned all sorts, and learned to do everything that you really never thought you could do. Because I like experimenting and making things. So that was great in the army. Anything that broke, Norma would fix it. Anything that was needed to be found, Norma would do it. So I enjoyed all that and get paid for it.
I always wanted to be a vet, but you have to be clever to be a vet, so I became a doctor, which was...
Well, going back to the younger ones, I worked in careers work at university level and in schools for 16, 17 years. And it's like chalk and cheese now. The opportunities for courses and training and everything available to young people now is fantastic. It was very, very limited back when I started in the 60s.
Because I come from the Highlands, in my generation, you either were a nurse or a teacher. It was as boring as that, or to Inverness, actually, to do my training. And I hated every single minute of it because it was like being in the army, Norma. And I just wasn't having it. So I gave up pretty quickly. I did 2 years and I couldn't face doing the third year. So I left. What I did was I got married and I had a different life. But then I became an events officer, as it was called, for in a geriatric hospital close to where I was. And I used to drive this huge big van and trail all these people around to events. And they loved it. But from that, I decided I might just try going back into nursing because I was now associated with all these people again. And I did, and I loved every single minute of my training. It was completely different. Loved every single minute of it, and loved the rest of my career after that. I specialised twice.
Hey, hotel. I'd never done anything like that, and I'd never been trained, but I did run a big household with myself and my husband and 6 children. So I used to liken it really just to running a bigger household, And yes, I enjoyed it. There were some really good moments in that life, but I wasn't trained for it. I just fell into it when we moved to Skye. I was actually trained at Secretarial College, and It was the last thing I wanted to be on earth, but I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. So I went to college because my father said, you got to do something. And he sent me to Leeds College of Commerce. And having been at a private girls' school, the College of Commerce was a real eye-opener. And I always thank my father for sending me there, because not only was it mixed, obviously, female and male, but there were people from all over the world there. And people of different religions, different ethnic backgrounds. And it was, I would say, probably the best thing that he could have done for me, because it really opened my eyes. And then from there, they helped you get a job. So, and then we came to Hscn and got a hotel, and the secretarial background came in useful.
I think the main thing from all this is not to put restrictions on yourself, to be open to learn new things.
So I'm going to be 50 next year, and I still haven't decided what I want to do when I grow up.
I haven't grown up yet.
It's all good experience.
Absolutely.
Always be happy at what you're doing. And
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
That's right. Yeah.